All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Worldwide Rain, also known as What the Rain Forecasters Do During the International Break. Given that we had both a bye week and an international break, and it feels like we're never, ever going to play another game again.
It was a nice little, yeah.
We thought we would just chat about all of our international players, what they're going to be up to the next couple of weeks. Joining me today is the other Jess.
How's it going?
Now that I figured out the technology, it's going awesome.
Yeah, it's good news.
It took a bit of doing. Not intuitive, Google. Not intuitive.
Should just be real easy.
So let's start with our players in the UEFA League. I think obviously the biggest matchup, or the one that a lot of people are looking forward to, is Jodie versus Jess in the England versus Wales game.
Yeah, that's
just about that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It'll be an interesting match. Obviously, England has always been ranked pretty well. I haven't really seen Wales into the international tournaments super often in the last little bit here, so we'll see how they fare. But it's just interesting, the dynamic of the teams nowadays. I feel like women's soccer is getting a little bit more. I don't know. It's kind of coming up elsewhere. Yeah. Not just like solely focused here, and so it'll be interesting to see what they can bring.
Well, certainly, I think the U.S. women's national team is kind of feeling the heat of increased parity. You know, like the She Believes Cup was not exactly something we just strolled away with.
No, and I mean, especially since like last year with them, they didn't. I can't even remember, but I think they came out of it like third, even. Like they didn't do well at all, and talks about transitionary periods and all that.
It was our experimental phase.
Yeah, and a little bit too much. They did like the 3-back line, and that wasn't that didn't seem to really go super well. And I know Long's on our team now, and she actually showed really well the other day, but she wasn't really great as a center back for us in that tournament. So it was just you got to plug people places and see how it fits, and if it doesn't work, you move on to the next scheme.
Yeah. So with England versus Wales, England is placed, if we look at the FIFA rankings, England is number 2, second only to the US currently, and Wales is 34.
Yeah. And, like I said, it's hard to figure out what actually the correct rankings are, with everything kind of in flux, if you will. Like in the recent She Believes, I don't think Germany showed very well. I feel have some room for improvement. I mean, they fired their coach after that tournament. So, and it's interesting. Like I said, it's kind of figuring out what's actually going to happen out there. I mean, there's obviously like the way lower teams that you kind of can't, can come to, like Jordan in the, the other tournament, I believe. That's one of the teams that's competing in that tournament. And, I've never even heard Jordan come up in any internet. So, but like, as far as like kind of those mid ranks, like under 30 teams, I guess, it'll be interesting to see how they
fare. Yeah. And like in terms of my like personal loyalties, they're kind of divided because on the one hand, my own personal heritage is English.
Oh, okay.
I actually visited the UK, not this past September, but the September before, and coincidentally happened to be in Wales and got to see Jess Fishlock play for her national team against Israel while we were there.
Oh, nice.
So, I'm a huge Fishlock fan, but actually English myself.
Yeah.
Like my family heritage. So, a little divided on that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, this team wins, great. That team wins, awesome. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I'll have to tune into that guy, or at least catch it on YouTube later. Hopefully,
that'll be on Friday.
Yeah,
I didn't write down the time, but I know it's on Friday. Another interesting one happening for our former Rain players, Corsi and Little. Scotland will be playing Switzerland. Scotland's currently ranked 22. Switzerland is ranked 18, so those are pretty close.
Yeah,
that's tomorrow.
Really close. As far as how they do, you don't really hear both those teams too often.
Yeah.
And they're so close in the rankings. That one could just be a toss up. It could be who has a better day.
Yeah.
Well,
Scotland finally made it to the Euros last year. Obviously didn't make it through it, but it'll be interesting to see what they can do now that Little is finally back and healed from her ACL tear.
Yeah, that was rough for sure. And she's great. I mean, she was a fun little feisty one to watch in the middle there for a while. When she played for the Rain, it was a bummer to see her go. So
yeah,
that'll be an interesting game for sure.
it will be, and I don't have to have divided loyalties there. Go Scotland!
Yeah, go Scotland! All right,
Make us proud, Kim. And then the other one that we will be watching for UEFA will be Denmark versus Ukraine. That's on Monday. Denmark's ranked 13th. Ukraine is ranked 27th. Teresa Nielsen is the Rain player playing for Denmark.
Fantastic. Hi, Dad. I'm doing a podcast. I was tucked away into the private. Watch out, Dad.
It's a family podcast.
Family podcast.
I can hear you all the way up there.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, where is this coming from?
Anyways, so we were talking about Denmark and Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, didn't Denmark come out? No, that was the Netherlands that came out that last tournament pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, Denmark's always been a decent team. They're always up there in competition for sure. Ranked 13,
Well, I can't speak for Denmark, but I think I saw a headline saying that the qualifier that the Netherlands is going to be playing sold over 30,000 tickets or something like that.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's awesome to see other countries putting some full support behind their women's teams.
That's great. I mean, that's what we need these days in order for the sport to continue to grow. I mean, it's crazy. Like, I remember when Orlando came here last season, I definitely made sure to go to that game because I wanted to see Marta so bad. And I texted my sister-in-law, who's Brazilian, and I was like, I'm here watching Marta play. This is great. She's like, who's that? And I was like, what? She's like, in Brazil, we don't care about women's soccer. And I'm like, oh, God, it's just like, I want to start to see that dynamic kind of change. Because you say, why my Neymar, I almost said Messi, she'd be like, yeah, woo, but anyways, little sidebar there.
And moving on to the Asian Cup, we've got 4 players who will be participating in the Asian Cup. For Australia, we have Lydia Williams and Steph Catley. Australia is the top-ranked team going into the Asian Cup. Yeah. They are 6th in the world. Currently, they're going to be facing South Korea, which is 16th.
Okay.
And then Japan, which is currently ranked 11th, is going to be facing Vietnam, which is ranked 35th.
Yeah.
And Japan, obviously, we got Rumi and Naho.
Right.
Naho's back on the national team. She did not get called up. I know at the very least she didn't get called up for the Tournament of Nations last year.
Right, yeah, she didn't. That's right. I mean, as far as those guys go, I mean, Australia, I'm honestly kind of disappointed in FIFA last year that Sam Kerr wasn't in the ranking in the top 3. I think she performed very well last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Australia coming out of nowhere, if you ask me. Maybe not nowhere per se, but
1 second. This is professional podcasting at its best. Hey, Tiffany, can you grab my laptop cord out of my bag because my battery is about to die?
It's okay. I just had to hide my dad's underwear, so.
We here at Rain Forecast like to bring you a high quality professional program.
Yeah, well, I would be in my studio, but I have a room and that it's too small for So I decided to come down here in the quiet, but apparently not so quiet. Anyways, back to what you said, Australia and Korea. I mean,
South Korea.
I had fallen off a little bit. Obviously I remember, well, another sidebar, I actually saw them play U.S. back in the 99 World Cup in Boston, which was kind of cool. But, they've always been like a up there team. It'll be interesting to see what they can bring. I think Australia is kind of hot right now. Yep. I feel like they might take that. Lovely. Look at that. You got lights now. It's great.
Color everywhere.
Yeah. And then what was the other? What we got? Japan playing.
Japan versus Vietnam. I'll be interested to see how Japan does. I went to 2 of the Tournament of Nations games last year. And Japan, for a team that had made the finals so many years in a row, was not showing well. And, you know, it could be that they were doing exactly what Ellis was doing in terms of trying out a lot of younger, newer players just to kind of fit people in and see how they were doing.
Yeah.
But they definitely seemed like they were suffering from a lack of experience on the field. They didn't seem as organized. They didn't do great in the tournament. So
part of me wonders as to like how much they actually play together. I mean, you know, for like the US, like they take off December, but there's always like every month they have 2 friendlies, it seems, just to kind of keep consistency in the group. And so I mean, as far as, you know, funding for women's soccer, I'm not sure what the Asian countries offer. I don't think it's much. So you have to wonder if it's just lack of playing together and, you know, coming together in a tournament like that a couple years removed.
Yeah, you know, I don't actually know the funding behind it. I would think, given that they, you know, that they had done so well, you know, both in 2011 and 2015, that they must get decent funding because they've been able to put together teams, you know, that won it in 2011 and then made it back to the finals in 2015.
Yeah.
So, you know, it'll be interesting to see with Naho back in the mix if that helps bring up their level of play. I don't know that Vietnam's going to be a particularly big challenge for them. You know, that, you know, any team can have a bad day and any team can have a good day, but I think, you know, I think the expectation is that Japan's going to come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, that's my expectation from that game. For some reason, I feel like Vietnam might have been one of those victory tour matches teams or something like that, and you know, one of those 8-0 teams. So
yeah,
but you know, they kind of just took what they could get. Bring on all the teams, you know. So I can't remember if it was Vietnam or not. I don't think. No, I'm like second guessing that. I don't think it was, but yeah, I'm not. I think Japan will take that one for sure.
Well, the thing about the Asian Cup is, I think of the various qualifiers, I think that's the only one that's really going to be settled by the end of this month in terms of who from that region is going to be going to the World Cup. Everyone else is in various levels of qualifying for the tournament that will lead to deciding who is going to be going to the Cup. Speaking of which, if we look at the African Cup, we've got Elizabeth Addo from Ghana on the reign now. You know, I went to research that because, you know, I know it's an international break and I expected that she would be playing too. And as it turns out, the African Cup the qualifiers for the Cup are starting, but Ghana is hosting this year. So they automatically qualified to play in the African Cup.
Yeah.
Looking just more generally at the African teams, in the past several World Cups, Nigeria has been the most consistent to qualify. Ghana qualified because I think it's the top 2 from the African Cup that go. Ghana qualified in 99, in 03 and 07, but not in the last 2 World Cups. They failed to qualify, so it'll be interesting to see if they're able to get through the African Cup and see some playing time at the World Cup.
Right. Trying to find my African. I'm not finding my African branch on this women's ranking site for some reason.
I want to say it's CAF. I think it's the first one.
Oh, that's the one I didn't go to. Of course. Well, good work. Yeah. I mean, Nigeria will probably be up there for sure as far as, you know, the team that goes through there. I don't think as far as what they have to. How many teams actually go from that?
I think it's just 2.
Just 2. Yeah, I mean. Well, according to the ranking, it could be them. You know, there's Nigeria, there's Ghana, and then there's Cameroon. Excuse me. Hello, I know how to pronounce things. I promise. So they may go.
Well, at least you're not calling it Nambia. So
let's not start. Nope, stop that rant.
I was not going any further.
Nope.
So and in terms of the U.S. women's national team, we're going to be playing a friendly. The CONCACAF qualifiers don't start until May, and the U.S., Canada, and Mexico are automatically qualified to play in, I think they call it the Gold Cup. So really the qualifiers are starting in May are for all of the other teams, you know, in the Central America and the Caribbean to determine who else will be in the Cup. But U.S. has a friendly versus Mexico, or as I call it, Pinot versus Queijo.
Yeah, that's tomorrow. It'll be a fun game because they've always kind of brought some kind of rivalry with them. I mean, obviously, I feel like the U.S. actually has a lot of rivalries, so it's not fair to say that the Mexico is the only one. But yeah, it'll be an interesting game to see how they fare. I mean, they're a feisty bunch down there, you know.
They are, and you know, at least from, you know, I follow Sandra Herrera on Twitter, and she does a little bit more coverage, or at least she, you know, as I think as someone who is Mexican American, she covers a little bit more what happens both with the players on the U.S. team who have Mexican ties, but also the Mexican women's leagues. And they've been seeing, you know, actually pretty good turnout. So hopefully that will, for Mexico, that will lead to better player performance and, you know, better, what's the word I'm thinking of here?
Competition?
Better competition, but better like process for training and retaining players.
Right.
So that they end
you
up
know,
with
the
a
interesting
national
thing
team.
is Sofia Huerta going to play or not? Because, you know, I mean, that's the big talk that, you
Yeah.
know, like 12, she played on the U17 team, I think, for Mexico and played USA. And so she comes over here and plays against Mexico. It would be like the only time in history this has ever been done. So that would be the interesting thing to see. You know, not necessarily win or lose, but, you know, just kind of like a little fun thing, little fun fact for you.
Yeah. I wonder how she feels about that. I wonder if she would like to play Mexico, or if there's a part of her that's like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'll just hang out till the next friendly. It's cool.
It's cool. I'm good. I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting because it sounds like she grew up in Idaho, you know, and she grew up in U.S. soccer system, but feels strong ties because of her, I believe her dad is the Mexican part of her. I think I read about, I think it's her dad. And, you know, it'll be interesting. You know, hopefully they're not super bitter on her, though, you know, and it's not like they would tear her apart if she was on the field kind of thing. But, yeah.
So just a quick, you know, recap. You know, let's state our predictions. So with the Scotland versus Switzerland, I'm going to take Scotland.
I'll go Scotland. I like that.
All right. England versus Wales. Gotta say, my gut says England, even though I would like it to be Wales. So I would just love to see Jess just like tear apart the English team. That would be great.
And she probably will. You know, she probably will. But, you know, and then one day maybe Wales will be up there. You know, I'm not sure that's tomorrow, you know, Friday. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll be surprised.
With Denmark versus Ukraine, I'm going to go with Denmark.
Yep. Same predictions here across the board.
I mean, that's the challenge, particularly in these early qualifiers, is you have a lot of good teams playing teams that are ranked significantly lower than they are, you know, with the Asian Cup.
Yeah.
Australia and Japan are heavily going to be the favorites, and those are the ones I would also pick.
Right.
And with US versus Mexico, I think Mexico is improving, but I think we still, you know, have the talent to keep them in check.
Yeah. I mean,
you know, depending on how much experimenting Ellis decides to do, it's still a friendly.
Yeah, I think, I mean, hopefully, I mean, as far as her diehards or whatever, I hope she's done experimenting, you know, a little bit. But then again, she threw Tierna Davidson in not too long ago. That like her third will be tomorrow if she starts or plays.
Well, Davidson plays defense, yeah?
Yeah, she's back there in the mid.
I think she's looking to shore up the defense a bit, so I can see her still experimenting a little bit with defenders and just trying to, particularly now with Short injured, I don't think Short is back yet, trying to figure out, you know, what her options are.
Well, O'Hara's going to be out too. She has a hamstring. She's going to be out, and she's a solid right back, I think she plays. Or no, she plays Pino Sush. She's left back. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. But I feel like, U.S. has an air about them that they have to win regardless of what game it is. So, and they generally do that. So, I mean, they experiment, cool, but I think it's too close for that now. So,
all right. Well, I think that's going to be it for us. This was just meant to be kind of like a short recap. We're really excited for the future, eventually, in which we actually will see another Ring game and have a chance to talk about that. Until then, we'll post the links to this talk. Feel free to tell us nicely how very wrong we are about our predictions and why. We'd love.
What if we're wrong? We might not be wrong.
Yeah. No.
Tell people to subscribe and like too.
Yes. Please subscribe. Please like. And that's it for us for another couple weeks. Bye, everyone.